On this episode of the 5P podcast, I'm your host, Michael J. Penney, and sitting down with Miss Alicia Parr of Performentor.biz. Now, Alicia Parr has over 20 years of HR experience in human resources, as well as working with executive leaders as an advisor in a consultancy fashion. Make sure that you check out Performentor.biz. Click on team. You can see all of our members of their team over there. A lot of impressive backgrounds. Check out their white papers. Check out their website. Go to Performentor.biz. But without further ado, Alicia Parr, thank you so much for coming on the 5P podcast.
Pleased to be here.
Wonderful. So, how's your day going so far in the midst of all of this lockdown?
Well, we've done a lot of our support remotely, so it was fairly simple to go from mostly remote to all remote, although each of our clients, and we serve a lot of different businesses across a lot of industries, had a lot of different sorts of challenges. So there was definitely some hustle and bustle for a while, but things are looking up.
Excellent. Well, then that kind of focuses towards your situation and the problem opportunity that you're targeted towards at Performentor.biz. So go ahead, tell the people, what's the problem opportunity you're focused on?
Well, we provide fractional full stack HR for growth businesses, usually between about 10 and 100 employees. They're growing or going through some sort of transitional. And it's not just businesses, it's nonprofits as well. And the issue is that a lot of these owners, founders, CEOs just don't really have the solution to human resources. They know that people are very important, but it's very expensive, and it can be a very costly move to hire a full-time HR person too soon. So we provide that right-sized entrepreneur fit approach to solving problems by layering in executive capabilities and people scientists, and make it simple, easy for our founders to put their vision into place.
That's so great. Listen to that elevator pitch, people. All right, so if you're an entrepreneur out there who's looking around for entrepreneurs to lead the different divisions of your organization, you can check out Performentor.biz, right? So what is the mission overall of your organization?
Our mission is to unleash people energy in and for smaller organizations. So anything we can do at the individual level, at the group level, organizationally, working with senior leaders, providing all sorts of different people practices and HR functions, that's what we're about.
Excellent. HR is a tricky one. I've worked with many HR professionals from different standpoints, especially freelancers that are talking to people that get themselves in hot water and other stuff like that. What about, could somebody from an emergency standpoint contact you in regard to, hey, I got myself into hot water, what do I do?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, we prefer to start working with businesses before the frog is boiled.
Absolutely.
But of course, you never know, what's going to cause the opportunity to arise for us to meet with folks. So for example, we have a nonprofit that we're working with, and they do amazing things. Their culture is amazing. Lots of things going right. However, they have a bit of a turnover issue. And so we are working through all the different ways that we can improve upon that in a very, very cost-effective way. So
excellent. So are you working with the senior leadership from the standpoint of how to cultivate, how to breed that culture from within in order to lessen the turnover? How does that kind of work?
Yeah. So we look at root cause analysis. So diagnose before you prescribe, for example. Solve the immediate issue, but also look at like what's the underlying root cause, what are the systemic causes. And so my team, so we're pretty good at looking at, well, in this case, it looks like we could do a little bit better, or when it turns in onboarding, get a little bit clearer up front in terms of what's involved when we're hiring people. So we're not just hiring people who express the values but understand the rigors of the role. So that we're making sure that we're getting a great fit. Are we providing leadership and managerial training and consulting to our middle managers, because they might be great people and awesome, but if they don't have that skill set and don't have the support for that skill set, they might manage in a way that is not ideal. So those are a few things off the top of my head, are the sorts of things that we would look at and try to improve.
Well, there you go. So if you're just now getting with us, Alicia Parr, Performentor.biz, Performentor.biz. Go ahead and check it out right now. Right. As far as the education standpoint, because I understand what it's like, we all at some point in time suffer from the Peter principle, and we are promoted outside of our level of competency. Mm-hmm. Are there other areas in HR, continuing education and the like, where you might steer leaders towards in order to benefit and empower their people?
Yeah, so well, in terms of the Peter principle, if there is an opportunity to rethink the role that the person's in, because very often the position or the company or organization is growing really, really quickly. The nature of what is expected from the role actually changes. The ground shifts right beneath that person's feet, and to no fault of their own. So, we're looking at, coaching and advisory. So for example, I was just on the call with the CEO of a pest control company, and one of my team members has been getting on regular calls and just sort of coaching and working with his middle managers, and he's like, it is so fantastic because he's spread in so many different directions. He's going to be a little less patient with them if they aren't thinking things through. Yet when she provides advice, and she can coach them along without feeling like they're being directed to do something. And he's like, and this is working so well. So it permits him to kind of be himself and not feel like, he's failing to meet the needs of his team, and it's empowering his team members. They're coming to him feeling confident and having much clearer direction. And that direction is really in sync with the direction that the CEO wants to take things. So to him, it's just, amazing for him. And he's just been real pleased.
It is so amazing when you have great leaders that you can delegate to, who take the initiative to carry out that vision. So being able to make that happen for small business entrepreneurs who are looking to grow and scale, that's adding a heck of a lot of value to the world, right?
Yeah, I agree.
That's so great. All right, so let me ask you, in some of these logistics functions, first of all, how does somebody get started with you if they're a small business owner out there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so typically we'll start off, either go straight into a retainer, and what we'll do is we'll right size a retainer. We'll talk to them, figure out kind of what are the key issues, how big is the company, what are the growth expectations, and really just got a sense for what's the right level of engagement in order to solve the problems or address the issues that they want to solve or get ahead of. I'm really impressed with the number of leaders that I'm coming across that are like, I don't have huge problems, but I want to be sure I'm staying ahead of them. So that to me is awesome, and it's like exactly the sort of people we love to work with, because that really keeps us in the zone of thinking strategically, which is awesome. Sometimes these business leaders aren't quite sure, like there's things that they know they don't know, but then there's the unknown unknowns. In those cases, sometimes we will do what we call a full HR practices immersion or people immersion, and we'll take a look at all their documentation, policies, look at their practices. How do you do recruiting? How do you onboard? Like maybe you don't, that's fine. Also talk to some different people in different roles across the business. Usually like to bring in, one of my behavior scientists to help with that, because they have really great experience sorting out some of the stuff that's sort of hard to measure and hard to pin down. That's their expertise. And then we put together a report and say, here's all the things that we found that might be worth looking at over the course of time. Which of these looks like and feels like is the most important to you? And then from there, we'll usually then transition into an engagement that is what I call an hours-based retainer. So we'll put them on a retainer. It feels like a really good, stable place to be. They have that predictability, but then we also have a cap and then an hourly rate on top of that. And so if there's something that comes up, it's like, oh, wow, we didn't expect this to happen. We really need you to spend a little bit more time this month. We're completely flexible to do that. And so the flexibility is really baked into that. So we're big on co-authoring our priorities. We use, for those that are familiar with EOS, we use a very operationally anchored check-in that's either weekly or bi-weekly.
Yeah.
And through that, we discuss issues and we try to stay ahead of issues. And then that's how we manage and co-author our priorities and reconfigure what's top billing in terms of how we spend our time. And that seems to be effective.
Excellent. So you're putting together a standard operating procedure that a business owner has as far as being able to manage HR that pertains specifically to that type of business, though.
Yes, everything's customized to the culture and to the organization. There's a lot of stuff that we know that we see patterns that recur in different situations. And then again, so we believe that, you know, HR's role isn't to be in the middle of everything. HR's role is to help managers do HR as well as possible, because they're the ones that are on the ground. They're accountable for the results of their teams. It's not HR. So we're just there to make it easy for them to do it as effective as possible, and that's what we orient ourselves around.
That's excellent. You know, it's funny, to an extent you mentioned EOS, which is great from a mastermind group, especially from an entrepreneurial perspective. And one of the things that we harp in on is how do we get that with your entrepreneurial leaders? Those who are business leaders who think and act entrepreneurially, but they do so with the backing and the guidance and the resources to the greater overall organization that they're a part of. You know, you mentioned earlier one of your clients is going out and handling pest control. That's multiple jobs, multiple job sites, multiple trucks, multiple forms, and you have to keep accountability of all of that. So how do we establish that feedback loop? And that's a huge thing that we're bringing from that military management perspective. You know, so it's interesting in hearing how you can put in SOPs, as we love to call them, and it's yet another binder on the shelf or a tool in the toolkit, so to speak. So that's wonderful. Folks, check out Alicia Parr, check out Performentor.biz if you're as curious as I am and want to dig further into the weeds. Look at the team, look at the background of the people that she's working with, check out her vision for success on there. Honestly, it's impressive. Go to Performentor.biz. This woman's adding value to the world. So I definitely recommend it. Go ahead, check her out. Now, in closing, as we kind of wrap things up here, for these other business leaders that are out there, are you approachable on things such as social, like LinkedIn? And how do you prefer other business leaders to connect with you potentially?
I get emails or outreach on LinkedIn pretty frequently. More often than not, the folks that I end up working with are referred to me through other people. Because I mean, obviously what we do is a little different, so you just can't always tell.
And it's obviously working because people are referring you by name. That's come on, that's the greatest advertising you got in the world. That's so great. Awesome. Heck yeah. Oh, good for you. All right, so people can connect with you on LinkedIn. Now you can look up Alicia Parr. And for folks who are listening to this on the podcast right now, I want you to know that you can see all of our video interviews in long format, uninterrupted, as a member of the 5P Inner Circle. If you've seen any of these clips that are out there, and usually we get 5 to 8 clips per episode that's out there, join the 5P Inner Circle. It's a 30-day free trial right now. You will have access to all of our long-form interviews with fine folks such as Alicia Parr over here with Performentor.biz. So be sure to join that inner circle so that you can get all of these valuable insights. All right, so Performentor.biz, fantastic. We've got folks who are going to you. Do you have any closing lines, any advice 4 business leaders that are looking at HR right now might need the solutions. Any advice to them?
Call me.
Yes, I love it. You're looking in the right place then. Do you like it if at least somebody shows up having done at least a little bit of homework, or something like that? Hey, I've poked around, but I don't know what I don't know. Or is it better coming into it without any bad habits and just saying, hey, I'm starting fresh?
Quite frankly, I am happy to talk to anybody, whether they've done their homework or not. I believe that people are capable of amazing things. I love small business. I think that small business in America is what makes America great. Love it. And anything I can do to help a small business owner put their vision into practice, to me, that's why I get out of bed. This is amazing. And if it just means that we'll have a conversation for 30 minutes and they're like, you know what, I'm not ready, I'll talk to you again in 2 years, happy with that too. It's fine.
There you go, folks. Connect with Alicia Parr. Go to Performentor.biz. It is definitely a value add to your growing business. Thank you so much for joining us here on the 5P podcast. I really do appreciate you. I appreciate what you're doing out there. So please continue to add value, please. And for you folks who are listening, subscribe, rate, review the podcast, click like, click share, click subscribe. We value your input in the comments. We value your feedback. It's the reason why we keep connecting with great people out there, because of you, the audience members. So the next time you're out there and you're trying to figure out your HR needs, please remember Performentor.biz and go ahead, subscribe, rate, review the podcast the second that you get a chance. Thank you so much to everyone out there who's listening. And until next time, take care and be well.